Hello guys, it is Gate of Theories here, and I don't even know where to start with Riverdale, or should I say Rivervale. Like, what on earth has happened to this show? Tony has technically died too now, everyone has just forgotten about Archie, and casual things are just happening that shouldn't be happening, even in a twisted show called Riverdale. So today, we're going to be delving more into what exactly Rivervale is, and looking at evidence for an alternative reality, as we've had some hints now that this might be what is actually happening, and how the show is leading up to the finale of the 5-episode event, which coincidentally will be chapter 100. Let's get into it, but before we go any further, please make sure that you've clicked that red subscribe button down below and have your notifications turned on so you get notified every time we make any brand new Riverdale videos. So let's actually just gather what we know. Riverdale is being built back up and Archie and Betty have gotten together. They then realise a bomb is under the bed and it supposedly goes off without them escaping. Come season 6, the town has transformed into Rivervale, where Jughead is now narrating directly to the camera. The bomb hasn't happened, but everyone begins turning on Archie, and Cheryl makes him become a sacrifice for her ancestor. Once Archie is dead, no one seems to care. Then, Tony sacrifices herself to La Llorona to save her baby, and Betty casually thinks this is fine. So, we seem to have a pattern going on here. Our main characters are each being killed off every episode, but not just by dying, they're all being sacrificed. Whether it was a forced one or a chosen one by themselves, that seems to be the trend, which means for the rest of the event, that's exactly what's going to be happening. So, we have characters that were meant to have died but just haven't. We have characters being killed off where usually that would be such a huge deal but it just isn't. And the name of the town has changed. Yet, everything else seems to be the same but slightly different. All of these points hint towards an alternative reality. It could hint to other things as well, which I've covered in this video, but today we're just going to be focusing on whether Rivervale is an alternative dimension to Riverdale, and has the show now entered its own multiverse. And it looks like the cast are supporting this as well. Vanessa Morgan, who plays Tony, has came out saying, if you believe in other dimensions, then there's alternative realities all going on at the same time, different versions, different outcomes, all playing out at your life at the same time. I believe in that, and I feel like we're kind of touching on that. And then I think toward the end of the season, it'll all come together and you'll really realise how it all relates. So that kind of gives us some confirmation of what Rivervale is. It seems to be a place where lots of different outcomes are coming out all at the same time. So while Betty and Archie are finding a bomb, Archie is also being sacrificed in another reality. And it's still not clear whether Rivervale is another reality to Riverdale, or whether Rivervale itself is several different alternative realities. In the latest episode, we saw Archie's face appearing on the side of a milk bottle with the label of missing. Does that mean that in episode 1's reality he is sacrificed, but in episode 2's reality he's just a missing person and didn't die? Or is Rivervale all connected like how Riverdale is? Let's also not forget Jughead calling the town of Rivervale, Riverdale Shadow Town. Meaning, is Rivervale just a more twisted and darker reality of Riverdale, where instead of the villains being human, they are actually supernatural beings? And judging by what Vanessa Morgan has said, it seems that in the finale of season 6, which may be the end of this special event, or the actual finale of the season, the two realities will join back with each other, where all the dead characters will likely return, or maybe this could even lead to duplicates of certain characters if we're getting into multiverses, and even returning of dead characters from the past, such as old villains. It all becomes complicated very quickly. But let's look forward into the future now and what this could entail. We of course have Sabrina making her appearance into Rivervale, who is from another Archie comic show. Now, this isn't unheard of before. We had Katie Keene appearing in Riverdale and then Josie appearing in Katie Keene, suggesting the two shows were part of the same reality. But if we do believe Rivervale is an alternative reality, then it might make Sabrina's appearance make just a bit more sense. In the chilling adventures of Sabrina, there are supernatural horror beings, which just don't happen in Riverdale, so maybe Rivervale is actually part of the same reality that the chilling adventures of Sabrina are in, and the multiverse is allowing us to see this. If Riverdale and Riverdale do combine, this could mean that Sabrina could then come into the Riverdale reality without anyone wondering why we've never seen any supernatural beings in this reality before. So, what could have caused this? Well, the most obvious option is Cheryl and her ancestor's spirit. Maybe she ended up cursing the town and turning it into Rivervale into Sabrina's reality. Now that makes the most sense until you see what the final episode of the special event and 100th chapter of Riverdale is titled, The Jughead Paradox. With its synopsis reading, unnerved by a series of strange happenings around him, Jughead's Cole Sprouse quest for answers leads him to uncover the truth about Rivervale. And not only that, but it also says it's starring all of the main cast, including KJ Apa and Vanessa Morgan, whose characters have currently died in Rivervale. Now this could mean one of two things. Either Jughead in Rivervale is beginning to notice the strangeness of the town and decides to investigate it, or he was behind the whole thing, or maybe just a mixture of the two. Because the biggest thing about Rivervale is not that Archie has died or something, but that Jughead is narrating to the camera instead of just writing on his laptop. Now this is a huge change because Rivervale currently has two versions of Jughead, whereas Riverdale only ever had one. In Riverdale, Jughead narrating was the same character who we follow, as he was just writing the events up as they played along. In this, however, we seem to have the Jughead who's telling us about Rivervale and who knows of Riverdale, and the Jughead who's with Tabitha who doesn't know about Riverdale at all. Two Jugheads in the same place. A paradox, as the title suggests. They're both still Jughead, as the narrator still mentions he's with Tabitha and dated Betty, but they are clearly different versions of the character. Now, it sounds very much like the type of writing in a certain genre that this show is based off. Comic books. The Archie comics, like the Marvel and DC comics, have different versions of the characters and storylines, and when combining them, it can create a multiverse. And the Archie comics are no different. There are many comics written by different authors, which include the same characters, but with slight changes and experiences. And the funny thing is, Jughead has for some reason this season been looking at many comic books. When he moves into his new flat, Archie is shocked at how many comic books Jughead has, which the creators wouldn't have added in unless it might have been foreshadowing the reveal later on. In the second episode, we see Jughead reading The Adventures of the All-New Mighty Crusaders issue number 2, which is basically the Archie comics version of the Avengers or the Justice League. Coincidence? I think not. And on a side note, that could mean that the other Archie comic franchises could come as well. Maybe not the Mighty Crusaders, as the rights for those characters are a bit varied, but still, it does create possibilities. So, this is all hinting that the reason for this multiverse, alternative reality, parallel universe thing that's happening is because Jughead is writing about it as if he's writing the comics or something similar. I mean, it would therefore make sense why we have two different Jugheads, one seeming to know much more than the other, and would make sense how characters can be killed off and return easily in the finale, and how supernatural beings and Sabrina can make appearances. Not to mention, the last episode, The Jughead Paradox, could not only see the realities merging together, but could also see several versions of Jughead meeting. I mean, just think about how many versions we've had already in the show. We've had the weirdo, the teen writer, the serpent, the investigator, the supposed dead, the drunk, the teacher, and the one who knows about both Rivervale and Riverdale. Imagine how many versions of Jughead there are in the comics. This final episode could also take a look back at all of the Archie comics if this is the case, and what a fitting story for the 100th episode of the Archie comics' most successful show. But anyway guys, that is the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure that you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Guys, let me know down below in the comments, what do you think about this theory? Do you reckon that Rivervale is actually an alternative reality to Riverdale? And do you think Riverdale is currently trying to create the Archie Comics multiverse in show form, like how the MCU has been doing recently, and like how the DCEU has also been doing? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments, and whether you are excited for the Jughead Paradox. And as always, we've been here on Creative Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.